broken heart, you could play a rogue, cause you stole our boat. So head out west, now time to start a quest and party up with your friends.
All of this kind of came from an article that I wrote for the newsletter where I posited a theory. It's something I call the Destroy Your Monster Manual ritual.
Right.
And it says, imagine you are running a campaign, there's only one beholder, one big eye boy, and you build up this villain, and the players are excited. Eventually, we're going to go beat the beholder. And when they beat the only beholder in the game, you hold some kind of event, some kind of ritual immediately at the table, and you go, players, here's my monster manual. And they tear the beholder page out of the book. And this communicates to the players, there are no more beholders. And now we as a group have this monster manual that I have selflessly sacrificed to you players. We have this monster manual as a totem of the game and the story that we've told.
Right.
And I was positing that as a potential peak moment that a Dungeon Master could give to players. Do you think that hits any of the criteria of a peak moment?
Yeah. So like, I think it's worth going through the moment itself and then sort of talking about the moment in context. Peak moments in your newsletter, you give 4 different requirements that a moment has to hit to be peak.
Yes.
Right? And peak here, we're talking about the most feeling, the most experience.
I'm thinking peak specifically as when you look at it in retrospect, you go, what do I remember from that? I remember the end. I remember that crazy bit that happened in the middle.
Great. So this is the crazy bit that happened in the middle. So the 4 things define it: elevation, pride, insight, and community connectivity.
Yes. Not in that order, but yes.
Is the order important?
No. I think they were probably going for an acronym because it's from that book, bad name, The Power of Moments by someone I can't remember the name of. They go elevation, insight, pride, connection. Does that spell anything?
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess let's go through it in order.
Elevation. Now, elevation, it says, is breaking the script.
Okay.
Doing something that is not supposed to be done.
Right.
We talked about this previously. It might be making strange or defamiliarization. And I think that you get the same kind of breaking the script energy from just, let's have the campaign out. Let's do the session outside.
Elevation here is a transgression. You are tearing something from a book.
Yeah, my $80 book.
The book is a glossy hardcover, because this is one of the things that I think is interesting about D&D is that they're pitching the book as a high quality, multi-illustration, glossy hardcover book, right? So like, yeah, $80 book.
And they're built to last. I have books from 30 years ago.
We've got this book that is meant to be a thing that is referenced but not engaged with, and we're going to transgress by removing something from it, by tearing this page from it.
Yeah.
You do 17 damage. It only had 15 hit points left. How do you want to do this? Oh, also, while you're telling me how you kill it, I'm going to wait for your description. And then you're like, and then I rip that eyeball from the middle like the Doom guy does. And as you say that, I go, yeah, and the beholder dies.
Yeah.
And I tear it out.
Well, I think that in that instance, the howdy doody do this, I would say if they go, yeah, I burn him to death, I'd pull out my lighter, burn the page a bit, and then I pull off one of his tentacles.
All right.
I pull the tentacle off that picture.
All right.
They describe, and like I enact like some sick voodoo doll. Sometimes you'll ask me, oh, but what's the actual play? What are you doing?
Yeah.
In this, they're describing, and we get to play because I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that is me interacting. That's playing.
Yes. And I think that my first concern around this is that the monster manual is not a real thing. And I don't mean it doesn't exist in fiction. I mean, players don't interact with it real.
No, they're not even allowed to look at it. No, you don't get to know how many hit points this guy has.
So in what you're saying by like tearing the page out, you're saying there are no more beholders. That's not really a script that players engage with normally.
Until they encounter a beholder, there were no beholders anyway. You know what I mean? Like, and if they were, they didn't matter.
Wow. Right. Okay, here's another version of this, right?
Yeah.
So imagine we're playing, but as the GM, I have my GM screen, and I have little printouts or index cards or an iPad. I'm using an iPad off to the side.
Yeah.
Which has all my monster things on it. And I'm like, yeah, I make little stat blocks for the monsters that we're fighting. And I'm doing this. And then, oh, you killed the beholder? and I go to the shelf and I pull the monster manual off the shelf and we tear it out.
Yeah.
That, I think we haven't established the script, so we can't break it.
Yeah. And do you know what you're going to do with that monster manual afterwards? Put that bug on the shelf and go back to playing as normally. But I tell you what, if they went, oh, cool, I stabbed the beholder in the eye and it bleeds out. And you go, great. Okay, here's a knife. Here's my $700 iPad. Here's a picture of the beholder.
Stab it.
Stab it.
Stab it. Go on.
Like that's
Stab it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The difficult thing then is that like you don't get to use that iPad anymore. Like that's no longer a playable space. But that is crazy. So elevation, we're breaking script.
Yes.
Insight, I don't think we have any insight. Because insight would be learning about your friends, your character. Maybe you're learning about the world.
The insight is no more beholder.
Yeah. But I would say of the four things, insight is the lowest in this ritual.
Okay.
But pride
is
we won a tough fight. Because you would have been foregrounding and like building up this beholder.
Yeah.
There's only one and we won. And it's definitely going to be a tough fight, probably.
Right. So counterpoint, you approach a 6 goblins and you kill the 6 goblins, tear the page out?
No.
Because there's no pride.
There's no pride. That's not an accomplishment. You didn't foreshadow it.
Yeah.
And then also, like you can't do this for every monster. You could do it for one monster, or maybe even like a few monsters that you particularly want to destroy in your book.
Yeah.
But if you did this 20 times in your campaign, you're no longer breaking the script. You're just writing a different script and then following that.
Yes.
Let's do the last one, connection.
Let's do connection.
Connection is, for me, we have this totem of the experience. And like we all did the ritual, whatever the ritual is. The ritual might just be, you tear it out. But I imagine a lot more fanfare. Rituals are fun.
Right.
The connection is that this book now represents our game.
Yes. Yeah, see, and this is where I think the like dungeon master as service provider, as organ donor, falls apart the most, or has the least to give, because there is a difference between we all did this thing and we all watched you do this thing.
How do you feel about the board games where you destroy the things? For example, Gloomhaven.
Yes.
Gloomhaven's a game, big board game, where playing a campaign. Every session takes like 4 or 5 hours, and it's going to take you like 300 hours to get through the whole thing.
Yes.
My friend Tim makes too much money, and he bought the game so selflessly for the team.
Yes.
But when we chose option A and that completely removes option B from ever being chosen again, and the game says, tear up this card.
Yes.
I saw Tim do it. I like genuinely, I stood up and like sat back down and then stood up again. I just having a panic moment of like, this is a $350 game and you bought it for us to do this to it. But sweet Jesus, apologize to the game.
I played Gloomhaven with my board game group.
Did you tear it?
It was purchased for us by a friend of mine who is, and I adore him greatly. He is what I would call like a fairly like neurotic personality.
Yeah.
Which I say with zero value assessment aside to it. He did not tear up the cards, and in fact was like, I'm just going to put the card in the back of the box, and was staunchly holding the position that he was right and the game was wrong to ask him to tear it up.
As in like, oh, they designed the game wrong.
As in like, this is stupid. Why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just put it aside? It's the same thing.
Do you think
and it's not the same thing. If it was the same thing, you would have torn it up.
You know, the difference between tearing up a piece of the board game, going, we chose this, so we tear up the opposite. That's kind of like the players are tearing up their stuff. And when you tear up the monster manual, well, you're not tearing up your stuff.
You're not tearing up anything of value. No.
I hate seeing people waste money. Like it hurts me. And I hate seeing that kind of waste. So like,
yes,
for me as a personality, if I saw somebody else going, oh, I'm going to tear up my book, or like, I'm going to break my guitar on stage, I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. But I think the thing about tearing it out of the book, the thing that makes it a peak moment isn't that it's just transgressive.
No.
It's all the other stuff. It's that it's also insightful. It also generates pride. It's that it also generates community or connection.
Tearing up the card in Gloomhaven is not a peak moment.
No.
It's not. But I do think tearing the page out of the book could be a peak moment, depending on the ritual and the way you engage with the ritual in the rearview mirror.
Going in and coming out as well in the rearview mirror, yeah. The thing that I find difficult is that it is more difficult for players to engage with the absence of something than with the presence of something. So there are no more beholders is very different to everybody is beholders.
Yeah, I said earlier that that hooked on your brain I saw a little bit. Before they encounter a beholder, there are already no beholders. In that world.
Yeah.
If it's not in play,
yes,
then we're not playing with it.
Right. And that like, if I tear the hydra out of my
2 heads will grow back.
Yeah.
No, two hydra pages.
Never tear the hydra page out of your book. It will grow back.
I know you had a point. I'm so sorry to cut you off here.
That's right.
Do you know who slew the hydra?
Hercules.
Hercules slew the hydra.
Yes, his manager Phil watched.
You've seen the movie.
I've seen the movie.
I see. And there's other things, like there was only one Minotaur. I forget the guy that slew it, maybe Theseus. And then the guy that killed Medusa, even though there were 3 Gorgons, there was Perseus. And there's an old mate who flew on a Pegasus and slew the Chimera. These are heroes defined by slaying the thing. If an ancient hero is defined by slaying the one thing, I think it's kind of cool that I can engage with my monster manual in a way that can communicate that, hey, 100%, that was the one thing. Because I don't have that page anymore. Crazy thing about the Pegasus.
Yeah, go on.
Do you know where he comes from?
No.
When Perseus slew Medusa, who was a Gorgon, cut off her head, from her wound sprung 2 entities. One was the Pegasus.
Right.
And the other one was like some giant guy. But the Pegasus came from Medusa's severed head.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that crazy?
That is a choice.
It is a choice.
What does that mean?
Don't. Hey, if you're going on a date, don't cut off heads because you'll get a horse.
You get a horse.
And if you're not ready for a horse.
If you want a horse.
But if you do want a horse, install Tinder.
Oh, man. All right. So
yeah, get us back on topic. Sorry.
I'm going to do my best. I think there is a power to it. I think the moment of you killed the only thing, you killed the only Hydra, and now you are Luke Hydra Slayer.
Yes,
I think is a really cool progression that can reinforce that peak moment. I think the tearing is good, but then like I'm really hungry for this playable butt. I'm really hungry.
Jesus. We had such a good run.
Doing so well.
Cancelled.
I'm really hungry for these acts to become toys, right?
Yeah.
Tactile play toys. And so what I want to do is I want to be like, hey, on your sheet where it has things I've killed the last one of, I've torn this out and I've even torn around the name.
The Hydra.
And I give it to you and you paste it onto your character sheet.
Yeah.
Or there's a Powered by the Apocalypse kitchen sink fantasy game called Dungeon World.
Yes.
And in it, the ranger has a move which says that if you take a trophy from something that you've killed, you can get its power. And in Dungeon World, monsters are not framed by like they have an AC of 10 and whatever. They're framed by their moves, by like the things they do. Like a dire wolf tears you limb from limb is like one of their moves, right?
Yeah.
And so if you kill a dire wolf and you take a trophy from it and you wear its pelt over your shoulders, you get one of its moves.
Yeah.
Which means that when you attack something, you can tear it limb from limb.
Yeah.
Because it's the power of the wolf, and that's what I want. I want like, oh, you killed a dragon. Here's the dragon's breath weapon.
Yeah.
Skills. Cut it out.
Rip. Put that on your character sheet.
That's now you get that.
Do you know what's also interesting about that? Where do you put it on your character sheet? What are you covering up?
Oh.
Yeah, you covered up the equipment section. Yeah, you actually lose your dexterous fingers. You're unable to use equipment traditionally.
Yeah. Because I love this idea of like
the ransom note.
Yeah, when you eat a giant's heart, you cut out the giant's strength 20 You stick it over your own strength 15. And now you have 20 strength.
Yes.
When you take a dragon's scales and you make armor from it, you just stick the dragon. This is Ransom Note the game.
Yeah.
I love it.
Also, I can't predict what's going to happen. What happens if you cover up something that you're not meant to cover up? Like, I don't know if you ever, you see sometimes on the game design Twitter, which is just awful. It's just a bunch of people screaming into the void. They don't know how to promote their game. But one of the trends that happens is they go, find a random value in your code and multiply it by 1,000 and see what happens. So this has the same kind of mad scientist feeling where it's like, here's the mechanic. You can do a lot with it, and I don't know what's going to happen. And we're just going to have to adjudicate that when it does.
And I think this is your insight tag. This is insight. Insight is a recontextualization of something that we thought we used to know.
And remember, the actual physical object is you cut out the AC 22 from the monster manual.
Yes.
And you pasted that over your character sheet.
Yes. Yes.
You are a freak. You are a Frankenstein, and so is your character sheet.
Yes.
And my book is worse off for it. That's one way that we can engage and play with the ritual. What's on the other side of the page? In D&D, on the other side of the page, for Red Dragon, you know what's on the other side? Blue Dragon. But
yeah, and it's a bad example because of that. I think it is a lesser example because of that.
But if I imagine on the other side of the page was dwarves.
Yep.
I got a misprint and they put dwarves next to dragons in mine, and they hate each other. But you tear out the dragon page and you go, cool, there are no more dragons or dwarves or rules for riding horses.
Oh, that's so interesting. It's so chewy. So this is something that I think is true about the play space, about D&D, about tabletop RPGs as a whole, is that the promise of them is that they expand into unknown possibility spaces, right? When I sit down to play a video game, I know that everything in there is going to be defined by the decisions that the game designers made. I know that everything I see is going to be something that was drawn by the coders, whatever. I think in tabletop RPGs, that is one of the key promises, is that like, we're going to be surprised. We've got these general rules and they're going to lead us somewhere different.
Yes.
And I think that's a cool thing about this is like, what did you kill? We killed the Otyug.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool, what's on the other side of the Otyug? And you're like, it's the Pegasus. And you're like,
my
cool.
boy.
When you get back, the Pegasus that was carrying all your loot has run away, is gone.
Yeah.
No more Peggy.
Peggy?
Pegasi. I meant Pegasi.
No more Peggy 13. That's done. It's all MA now, baby. Welcome.
All the washing falls off my line.
All the Peggy's fall on off. Oh, it's all in the mud.
No.
I never valued you, Pegasus.
So I think that that's the thing, the second half of this, right, is that like you got to start with we tear the beholder out.
Yeah.
And then you've got to move to, and now that we're tearing out things and we're used to that, here's this other thing that you don't realize about it. So like here's the version that I want, right? I want to really lean into this like tear stuff out, cut pieces out,
yes,
make like Ransom Note your character, like real Monster Hunter, the video game series of like survival crafting kind of thing. Go out, fight something big, come back, be stronger for having fought it, go for it, fight something bigger. And
at the moment with this particular angle of the pitch, you're imagining this being a feature, a rule that we revisit, or is this a one and done?
No, this is a revisiting thing, right?
Yeah.
This is a loop now.
Yes.
Go out, find a thing that there's only one of, kill it, and like, yeah, again, goblin. If you kill a goblin and you take its teeth, I'm not going to give you an attack for it because it's goblin teeth, whatever. But if you kill the only ankeg, those
beetle dudes,
insecty dudes, then that all right. Now you can also lift up to 7 times your body weight or whatever. That contextualization, and then you're giving me all these unused parts. And between sessions, I go away and I build a monster of all the parts that you've left behind.
Oh, yeah.
And then it hunts you, and it has the AC of the anchor because you left that behind.
Yeah.
It has the, whatever the
Has the-
abilities of the dragon because you didn't take that.
Yeah, you took the breath weapon, but you didn't take the terrifying presence, so it's got terrifying presence.
Terrifying presence.
And you couldn't predict what that monster would end up being.
No.
And in the fiction, this is like, hey, we take the monster parts to the monster part ability giver.
Oh, yeah, right.
And this character is like secretly keeping the offal to make his awful creature.
Right, and then you've got that like Dr. Frankenstein,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I just need to go to my blacksmithing shed, and it's a castle that's lit by lightning. And
Do you know what's fun? What you did then is you went like, oh no, here's a different peak moment. We're going to take the same way of engaging with the book, and that's novel and nice and transgressive. But the peak moment is actually the reveal of all of the things you haven't used. Now you have to meet that. And it's going to give you new insight into these are the consequences of the decisions you made previously. You didn't know you were doing this. It's breaking the script because it's like, here's a monster that could not exist. There is no design in this monster.
Yeah, and it's breaking the script because the implicit promise as a protagonist is when you give the guy the stuff that you want, the other stuff vanishes, right? That the creature is only the parts that are useful to you.
But it is kind of fun that like you found a different peak moment with the same kind of engagement, but you just shifted in the timeline of when we get to experience it.
Yeah, and I think that this is a thing that comes up a lot. And I think that it's important to realize that the power of moments as a book is written from a business perspective.
Yeah.
And therefore it talks about short consumer interactions.
Yeah, and let me be clear, I'm not married to the book.
No.
No. It's fine.
No, you'd tear pages out of it.
I'd tear pages out of it, eat some of them I'd bring onto the podcast.
Yeah.
But like the idea, the core idea of there's a peak moment and people are going to remember it, and people are also going to remember the end.
Yeah, so I think when we look at things over a larger scale, like when we look at things like a D&D campaign that's happening over 2 years, it's not about I remember this one thing and the end. It's usually I have a couple of amplitudes. I have a couple of like peak moments.
Yes.
Because that interaction is longer, and it needs to be long enough that you're rebuilding the script each time so that you can break it again, that sort of thing. And in one of the examples the book uses is like people staying at a hotel.
Yeah.
Over a 3-day thing, you only have one thing. But if you say to someone, hey, what did you do last year? Over 12 months, you can probably get a couple of peaks.
I fought the Rock last year. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that, did I? I got into a real fist fight
with a Rock?
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He and I battled.
Yes.
And I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Hey, it's Matt from the editing room here. Let's just take a quick 30-second break before Sydney rips my monster manual in half, because this episode has a sponsor. It's Arkenforge. Arkenforge is virtual tabletop software, but designed for in-person games. And they've just released a huge update, which you can try for free with their 30-day free trial. All you got to do is follow the link in the description below. I've used Arkenforge both as a player and a dungeon master because at PAX, I went on stage and played with a bunch of famous people, but we were playing on a huge touchscreen, but we were using physical miniatures to play. What was so amazing was that the software, the Arkenforge software, could register where our minis were being put on the screen, and it would adjust the dynamic lighting and reveal the map as we moved. It was a strange, tactile, wowing moment. So to support the podcast, you should support our sponsors, and that's Arkenforge. Here's what you do. Step 1, go to the Arkenforge website by following the link in the show notes. Step 2, download their software and install it. Step 3, make an account and begin your 30-day free trial. Just have a click around. It's super fun. And as an added bonus, I'm giving away a free code for the Arkenforge Fantasy Starter Bundle. All you got to do is go to my newsletter. It's start-a-quest.com. Sign up for the newsletter. opt into giveaways, and you could win this free code. And who knows, maybe we can give away half a monster manual as well. Hey, let's get back into the show. But hey, it is only workable, this solution of tearing out your monster manual, if it needs time to cook, then it couldn't work in a one-shot. If we play a one-shot and we go, okay, we're doing a beholder hunting mission, you guys beat the beholder, whip. Okay, now we're never playing these characters again. Like, that's nothing.
Yes, yeah, and I think one of the things about the monster manual is that because the monster manual is a GM-owned thing, right? And exactly as you said, there's no beholders until you meet the first beholder. That like saying, oh, we have connection because there will always be this book that is the totem, but like not really. Like if we played with that book next week with different characters, different story, whatever, would I even notice that you had torn vampire out?
You wouldn't unless I brought it to bear and play. But I will say it is also an interesting to me, the thing that makes it so transgressive is the book doesn't want to be destroyed. The book doesn't have a rule in it that says tear this page out if you beat him. There is this game. Where is it? Mork Borg.
So I want to come in from a really like kind position here, which is I am not the audience for Mork Borg.
Oh no, me neither.
I'm not particularly interested in OSR, and I'm not interested at all in the unplayable art design of it.
Oh yeah, this book is a complete absolute nightmare, but it is very pretty.
But I have a massive amount of respect for it and everything that's come out of it. Yeah.
You can talk smack. I'm happy to feud with the Mork Borg people. Come at me, losers.
Can we feud with the Pirate Borg people instead?
Oh, the world's ending. Look, this book has rules in it that explicitly want you to destroy the book. When you finish your campaign in Mork Borg, the book says, throw this book into a bonfire. There's a D20 table in this that is a like a 5x4 grid, and it says pin the book up against the wall, throw knives at the book. Now, what's interesting is this book is telling you to destroy it, and I don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
I don't think it's genuine.
I don't think it does at all.
Gloomhaven, I think your friend is wrong.
I absolutely think he's wrong. Yeah.
Tear the card up, bruh.
Yeah. But also, it's his game. If he doesn't want to destroy it, that's fine.
I'm going to find your friend and destroy his games.
Do it.
Is he tall?
Yeah.
Okay, pass. He gets a pass.
Okay, so I think it's really interesting to talk about what that book wants, right? Because for two reasons. One is that I think you're right. I don't think it's genuine. I don't think Mork Borg expects you to burn the book. And I also don't think it cares. I don't think it's real.
Yeah, and do you know what? Anybody watching this, I invite them and you, whoever, if you've played Mork Borg and you destroyed your book by burning it, or you threw a knife in it, tell me about it.
Absolutely.
And I don't believe you.
Well, like I have two interesting questions about it. One is like, did you do it? And two is like, was it fundamentally better? Like, was it fundamentally more useful? Was throwing a knife at that thing strong? Because here's the thing about wanting and permission and like designing games for destruction and whatever is there's a book called Wreck This Journal. It's a creativity prompts thing. It's a book, like the first prompt, you open up first page and it says crack the spine of this book, and so you crack it, and it's designed to evoke that kind of like, this is the thing I paid money for and I want to keep it, and now I'm being able to destroy it. And one of the interesting things is one of its prompts is like, punch this page after dipping
punch
as in page
fist,
as in fist
get
into it, as in this page is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But it says punch this page after dipping your fist in something. And it's really worth talking about the fact that the book doesn't want you to punch it. It wants you to mark it or imprint it or put, color or a coffee stain or whatever on it by punch. Like, the thing that the book cares about is the change, is the imprint, not the act.
But how do you play with the fist marking afterwards? Do you engage with it at all?
So most of Wreck This Journal is reflective engagement.
Okay.
So it's like Rorschach testing, what does it look like? What does it inspire in me? How do I go on to create other stuff?
Well, that's play.
It's play. It's absolutely play. Reflective play is play. And I think that in the same way that there is a difference between dipping your fist and punching something and just punching it in a journal, there is also a difference between pinning this up and throwing a knife at it and having something that is pinnable and having play around the act of the knife throwing, right? Like, is it functionally different to roll on a table versus throw a knife at it?
And I don't think that throwing a knife at Mork Borg is a peak moment. I think it's really transgressive, and it's exciting to throw a knife.
Yes.
You ever thrown a knife?
Yeah.
Yeah, really hard. But the way it does become a peak moment is if you go, cool. So Sydney, your character's throwing the knife.
Yes.
Tom, Jerry, and Alan, put your character sheets either side of the table. See what happens.
Yes.
Because then suddenly we actually have not just the consequence of where did you land on the table, but if you miss the table, we have the consequence of, you've actually injured one of your friends. It went through Jerry's, I don't know what the stats in Mork Borg are, intelligence.
Probably hit points, yeah.
Jerry is now brain damaged.
Yep. And even just the concept of like the act of throwing this knife is connected to a thing that's happening in the fiction, which is why I think the game that has the strongest ritual is 10 Candles, which is about a game about darkness, and you play it with 10 candles, which get put out during play. Yeah. And as you play, the room gets darker and darker, and you lean in and get closer and closer and closer. And you've got your character sheets written on these big index cards because you've got to like be able to see them in the dark. And when you have this thing written down that you hope to do, like, I just want to see my mother again. When you lose that hope, you burn it, you burn the card, and it lights the room up for a second. And there's this burst of light where like you have that reflective moment. And it's a beautiful peak moment in play because it gets brighter. And you have that insight of like, oh, the room used to be this bright. Yeah. And now it's dimming again. And it all goes away.
But if it was just like the candle goes out and then later we're going to light another candle, who cares?
Right. And the reason I bring it up is that Steve Dewey, who wrote 10 Candles, and I spoke about this, a lot of that game came from playing it. Right, that was a game that was he had an idea and he fiddled with it for a bit and then he played it. And I think one of the things that is the weakest about the plan in your newsletter, but becomes stronger as we workshop this.
I think it's way stronger from our conversation.
Yeah, is that you hadn't play tested it when you wrote it. It was like a thought experiment, which means that it hadn't interacted with the reality of those feelings yet. Like, it's really easy to be like, tear a page out of your monster manual, whatever. But one of the things that you and I do, like with Mork Borg, is we have books that we put next to us.
That's my book.
Yeah. And what I thought was that this is a beautiful, green dragon page here.
Yeah.
On the back is the green hag. And hags are great because they're like a really nice encounter.
I do like hags.
Yeah, and they like, there's, you have a really good time with hags.
I like hags.
Yeah. And then sometimes you get the emotional experience of play. Now, we can talk later about whether I donate my earnings from this episode to buying you a new book. We can talk about that. But what I do want to talk about is that there are little things that have happened here that don't occur in the thought experiment. Like the tear is uneven, the feeling of loss, the crimpling at the top, the fact that it was a full art page on the back.
Yeah.
Like, you can now do something with this.
Yeah.
This can be a thing that you play with. But what you can't do is run a hag. Or a green hag, at least.
Oh man, I wonder if the feeling I have right now is because that's my book. And if it wasn't my book, I wonder if I'd feel the same way. I think I would, but that's because I'm stingy. I'm out of breath.
Yeah. I also think that there are limitations to the transgression where it gets unfun.
Absolutely.
I was thinking of the fact that your Pride of Place Warhammer Fantasy book is on the shelf behind me.
Oh, I would cry.
Yeah, I know how important that is to you. And if I had torn something out, I don't think we hit peak moment because I don't think we have pride and insight and all those lovely things.
Can I have my book back?
This is our book that tells a story now.
It is.
and later, I will give you the mimicry skill. You, no longer the hag. Oh, see, this is the thing about playtesting, right?
Yes.
When you have the ability, it always starts with the hag can mimic animal sounds and humanoid voices.
Yes.
You get to change that text, right? You get to cross out the hag and write your character name.
Yeah.
Or you get to, change that in some way. That's really special too.
Oh, I'm going to give away this book. If anybody wants to sign up to the newsletter, you can win this book. Let me know if you want the hag page. I'm gonna give away this. Are you gonna keep that?
I am either gonna keep it and do some game stuff with it, or actually, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna make it into a thing, and then we'll give it away to someone.
Yeah, do me a favor, cut that up and assemble it into something, and I will ship it with the book to whoever wins the random draw.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I actually feel closer to you now that you've destroyed my things.
Doing that was an act of trust that I didn't think I was prepared for.
How do you feel?
I think I feel elevated, insight, pride, connection, right? I'm proud.
You're proud, huh?
I'm proud. It was a fun bit.
Proud.
It was a real fun bit.
Okay.
I'm glad that I thought to do that. It's elevated. I think there's some insight into, even for me, I was kind of down on this idea, and now I'm like, this feels like possibility space to me.
Yeah.
And now I just want to play with it.
Yeah.
And I feel connected. I feel like this is part of the quest that you and I are on.
The quest.
The quest.
That's it.
The quest that we have started, as in start-a-quest.com.
Sign up now. You can win this.
And you can win whatever this will be.
Peace. That was really good.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was good. That was fun.
I gotta tell you, there was a part of me that was like,
you gonna do it or not?
I was gonna be like, you expect me to tear a page out of this? That's what we discussed. But I'm gonna grab your Warhammer book now.
Oh, I would have stopped. I would have stopped.
Yeah.